Does the sponsor not believe that the ability to buy and sell tickets on the web is what has driven easier access to the tickets, as opposed to a system that the Attorney General of this state has clearly said benefits brokers and venues who deal with them by preventing huge percentages of tickets from ever going on sale, by creating average markups 50% almost above face value, and frequently for popular shows markups more like 1,000 times, 1,000 times what you see, 10 times what you see, 1,000% of the face value, and a system where bots have proliferated. Which of those systems, the web or the system that the Attorney General describes, has made tickets more available for everyday fans?
So, Mr. President, under the old law, there clearly would not be a market on the web for the resale of tickets, which would mean that we would revert to a system where there really was no access in the broader market to consumers for tickets in the state of New York. With respect to the bots issue, I completely agree with you. With respect to brokers, the way they are able to amass huge numbers of tickets is primarily and through the bots, the application and the utilization of these bots programs. It is something where there is bipartisan agreement. We have, as I've said, there have been discussions over the last several months, including with the Attorney General, Eric Schneiderman, and we have a bill that I think will go a long way, if not end permanently the practice of bots in the state of New York. And so I think primarily the problem or the issue being discussed by Senator Squadron is a result more than anything else of the utilization of bots, which I hope we together very shortly will pass legislation to end.
The sponsor will continue to yield.
Yes, Mr. President.
Sponsor yields.
The sponsor claims that under the old law, the ability to buy and sell tickets on the web would not exist, and therefore we need to pass a law that the sponsor agrees has significant flaws when it comes to bots, that the Attorney General has been clear makes it much easier, much more possible for the wealthy to buy tickets than the average fan, because ticket prices are sent into astronomical levels. And so just to be very clear on this, the sponsor's view is that either we have the old law or the exact law we have today, and there's nothing else possible, even though there's a history of this law expiring for a few weeks and there being no consequence out there on the ground.
First, with respect to Senator Squadron's first point, I disagree. I think everyone agrees that bots are the problem. And I will very shortly, I think it has been introduced, and I hope to see it on the floor very shortly, the strongest legislation dealing with bots in the country. With respect to what will happen if this bill is not extended, it is very clear. As a matter of law, the current law will sunset in a few days. So I think, if I'm understanding Senator Squadron correctly, he's suggesting that we allow that to happen and then hope that after that occurs, we will all be able to arrive at a three-way agreement, which we have not arrived at today. I would rather, or I should say, I believe the proper way to proceed is to make sure that we don't revert to the old law, that we extend it, and that we continue to do in earnest what Senator Squadron is suggesting, which is to see whether or not we can come to an agreement between the houses and the governor for further improvement. But I don't think we ought to be playing this game of chicken with this law hoping for a good outcome when we know if that agreement is not arrived at, we will be stuck with a very bad law that I think everyone, including Senator Squadron, agrees we should not have in this state.
The sponsor will continue to yield.
Yes, Mr. President.
Sponsor yields.
If the sponsor is so concerned about that, despite the clear history, would the sponsor consider amending this bill to extend only until June 30th of this year so that we can address issues like the fact that only 46% of tickets on average are reserved for the public at the time they go on sale. That means 54% for the well-heeled, the well-connected, and the wealthy. 54% under the current system, a lot of which are going to brokers. So that we can pass a law that prohibits brokers from using every possible system under the sun in addition to bots, including signing up for fan clubs, obtaining codes, using specific credit cards that are authorized for pre-sales, direct relationships with the venues and the sports teams to give them a leg up in the market. Would the sponsor be willing to pass a bill for the next 6 weeks so that those issues could be dealt with, so that fewer tickets are available to exclusively the well-heeled, the well-connected, and the wealthy, and more are available to the regular fan?
Mr. President, well, I'm glad I have Senator Squadron speaking my language. If Senator Squadron cares so much about the issue, I think the prudent, responsible course of action for us is to ensure that we do not revert to the old law, that we today vote for and pass this extender because it is the only bill where there is presently three-way agreement. And then we can continue the conversation. But I don't think that we ought to play this game of chicken, as I've said, and allow this bill to sunset and revert to the old law.
The sponsor will continue to yield.
Yes, Mr. President.
Sponsor yields.
Is that an agreement to pull this bill today, amend it so that it expires on June 30th of this year, so there's real pressure to have this conversation?
Mr. President, I don't know that I could be any more clear. This extender before this House has a same as in the Assembly. In fact, I believe it passed yesterday, if not today. This bill is before this House right now, as we speak. I have every assurance and confidence that this bill is the one that will be signed by the governor. I know that because he signed it last year. And so I think the most responsible course of action, unless you believe that it's all right to revert to the old law that we have before us, is to vote for this extender.
The sponsor will continue
Yes,
to yield.
Mr. President.
Final question. What assurance can the sponsor give that between now and 13 months from now, there will be substantive public discussion and amendments to the bill next year in order to crack down on the kinds of behavior the AG was talking about beyond bots, such as more than half of tickets never going on sale to the general public, such as an average resale price 50% above the face value, such as brokers using any number of other advantages, sometimes fraudulently, in order to get early tickets, and such as brokers operating without a license frequently on New York venues?
Mr. President, first I'll start with the last point. The current law requires licensing. To the extent that anyone is operating without a license, they are in violation of the current law. With respect to 50% of tickets not being available to the general public, 90% of that 50% not being available as a result of bots. So to say, aside from bots, what are we going to do? Doing something about bots is doing a heck of a lot. And Senator Squadron has my assurance that my bill will be moved, and I hope that we can all agree that it is the most important thing we can do on this issue if we truly are concerned about guaranteeing access to tickets. And with respect to who is making the money and what is being charged for tickets, all I know is this. Not too long ago in this state, ordinary people did not have access to playoff games and World Series and big-ticket events. And now, because of the secondary market, because of the current law, with all the imperfections as described or perceived by Senator Squadron, now, in today's society, with the internet and because of the secondary market and because of this law, people can go on StubHub or somewhere else and at least have the opportunity to get a ticket that they, under the old law, never would have had the opportunity. And we all know that's what happens in our communities. If people want to go to a Yankee game or a Met game or a concert and they're not wealthy, well-heeled, and well-connected, under the current law, and go to StubHub, and you may not like the price they're paying, but at least they can get the ticket. And if we revert to the old law, they will not be able to get that ticket.
It's disturbing that the sponsor is not willing to commit to any public substantive conversations on this bill, on fixing the bill, on making tickets more available in the future.
Mr. President,
much as it didn't happen in the future. On the bill, Mr. President.
No, point of personal privilege. That's absolutely not true, Senator Squadron. I've engaged in numerous conversations, both public, within this body, with the Attorney General, with many stakeholders, if you will, with my constituents on the issue, and I'll talk to anybody, anywhere, who would like to continue the conversation on this issue. And you and I have had conversations about it, Senator Squadron, as well. And I'm always open to those conversations.
The sponsor will continue to yield.
Yes, Mr. President.
Does that extend to public conversations in a committee or roundtable forum?
Senator Squadron, there is nothing preventing you from having a public meeting in your district in Albany or anywhere else in the state as you see fit.
If the sponsor would yield?
Yes, Mr. President.
Will the sponsor participate if we schedule it accordingly?
I'll have to see what the venue is and what you have in mind, and I'm certainly open to it.
Thank you. On the bill, Mr. President, it's disturbing.
Squadron on the bill.
It's certainly true the sponsor is happy to engage in this conversation. I have done so, as the sponsor says. It is disturbing the sponsor is not willing to commit to a public conversation on this, as the prior sponsor of this bill, a member of his conference, committed to in 2014 and has never happened, as has not happened in the year between 2010 and 11, 11 and 12, 12 and 13, 13 and 14 when it was committed, 14 and 15 and 15 and 16, and we're going to get more of the same this coming year. I don't know why folks are so concerned about talking about this bill. But as I said, on the bill, Mr. President, I've spoken in the past about the way in which charitable events are also the victims of profiteering under this law. The 12-12-12 Sandy Relief Concert, which sold out in minutes, resellers posted tickets at prices up to $6,500. Billy Joel's charity concert to benefit Long Island Cares in 2013, where tickets were resold for up to $4,000. And the Music Cares MAP Fund benefit concert in 2015, for which tickets were resold for over $1,250. In fact, this past year in September, I was joined by Cardinal Dolan and Senator Schumer as we spoke out against speculating surrounding the papal visit. Free tickets for the procession were reportedly listed on sites including eBay and Craigslist. This year, for Hamilton, the hot Tony-nominated Broadway show, computer programs or bots have taken huge numbers of seats. It's been reported that $30,000 from every performance goes to ticket resellers, not to the artists and producers of that show. A producer said to the New York Times that a broker with a bot purchased 20,000 tickets to this show. As we've discussed, Attorney General Schneiderman's report showed over 50% of tickets to big shows are never offered to the general public, and resold tickets are sold at an average of 49% above face value. I've long carried bills to increase ticket industry transparency, create price caps, and ban charity ticket profiteering. As we've discussed, year after year, the majority again pushes through the same bill with the same damage to consumers and fans, with the same promises that maybe next year something will change. Whether it's profiteering off the Pope's visit, a Sandy benefit concert, or getting the ticket to the great new American musical, it seems that our broken ticket laws have been caught up in the Benjamins. So I thought I would take you through an abridged and modified rendition of the musical Hamilton. For those who have been able to score tickets, you may recognize some of this. For those who have not seen the musical, rest assured, the real thing is better. with apologies to Lin-Manuel Miranda and the entire cast and crew of Hamilton. First song of the show, Alexander Hamilton. What's my name, Senator DeFrancisco? State Senator, Squadron. My name is State Senator, Squadron. And there's a million fans having no fun, but they just wait. They just wait. In New York, you cannot be a real fan. Oh, no. In New York, you cannot be a real fan. Aaron Burr, sir.
Senator DeFrancisco, why do you rise?
I'm going to have to start again, Senator DeFrancisco.
Would you yield for a question?
I would be happy to yield for a question. You did interrupt my flow, Senator DeFrancisco.
I just had one quick question. That is, after hearing that rendition, does anybody really want to buy tickets to this damn thing?
I'm happy to answer the senator's question. I'm also happy to have a backup chorus member at any point.
Senator.
I appreciate that.
Can you have Senator Squadron break a leg?
Thank you very much. So that was a little bit like a cell phone going off at the end of the opening number. We're at the second song of the show, Aaron Burr, sir. While we're talking, let me offer you some free advice. Extend less, reform more. Let's let them know what we're against and what we're for. My shot, next song. We're just giving away our shot. We're just giving away our shot. New York's law is junky, old, rotten, and clunky, and we're just giving away our shot. You'll be back. Brokers rise, true fans fall. We have seen no reform through it all. And when push comes to shove, lobbyists will send a fully armed battalion to remind Sens of their love. Dot, 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 dot. Non-stop. Tickets go on sale at the very same time. Real suddenly, they begin to climb. How to account for this rise to the top? Man, the bots are non-stop. I know I talk too much. I'm abrasive. Bots are incredible at ticks. They're speedy, evasive. The fans need a strong defense, not this solution. What do we need? A ticket revolution. And from here on out, it's the real Hamilton lyrics. Corruption is such an old song that we can sing along in harmony, and nowhere is it stronger than in Albany. The room where it happens, still real lyrics. No one really knows how the game is played, the art of the trade, how the sausage gets made. We just assume that it happens, but no one else is in the room where it happens, the room where it happens, the room where it happens. Then at the end of the musical, spoiler alert, Burr shoots Hamilton in a duel, and he dies. Then at the end of this speech, spoiler alert, every year since 2010, fans across New York have been promised a better ticket-selling law. Things have not ended well for Alexander Hamilton or New York's consumers. So, citing the musical's final number, what passes, what fails, who tells this story? Or actually, which New Yorkers have access to this great story of Alexander Hamilton, this great musical, and so many other shows and events to which currently they are prevented from going? Let's not throw away our shot. Please join me in voting no on this bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Squadron. Senator DeFrancisco.
I just wanted to make a public service announcement. Tickets are now free in front of the theater, and you got plenty of tickets. You don't need the bill any longer.
Senator Kruger, are you still going to co-star?
Well, I just want to stand and rise and say, I actually don't want to try to go after that. Thank you, Senator Squadron. I agree with you. I do want to highlight that, unfortunately, you can't get a free ticket, Senator DeFrancisco. You can't get a ticket to Hamilton at all anymore, because when you try to go and buy a ticket, they tell you, we're done. We're not selling tickets ever again at this point. But if you go online through a broker, you can see tickets for $3,500 to go see Hamilton, which I think highlights the point my colleague made so much more eloquently, and I respect his position on this completely, and I also will be voting no. But I will point out that perhaps the actual cast of Hamilton has nothing to fear about Senator Squadron trying to get their job. I apologize on that. I vote no, Mr. President. Thank you.
Nor does the $10 bill. Seeing and hearing no other senator that wishes to be heard, debate is closed. The secretary will ring the bell. Secretary will read the last section.
Section 3, this act should take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Senator Boyle to explain his vote. Can you have some order in the House, please?
To explain my vote, while I'm sympathetic to Senator Squadron and his concerns on this legislation, I intend to vote in favor of it. I just do want to mention, with his representation of the play Hamilton, Bayshore High School in my district has an arts foundation and recently sent the entire junior class to see that play. $70,000 they raised for this, and Bayshore is number one, but I'm voting aye.
Senator Boyle will be recording the affirmative. Senator Hamilton to explain his vote.
Mr. Chi, I rise to explain my vote. As you know, I'm related to Hamilton. It's part of my family. And I haven't gotten any money from the proceeds of the play, the Hamilton. So I have to vote no until... Let me stop. I'm going to have to vote no on this bill for the mere fact that a lot of people are not getting their fair share of tickets, including my family. Thank you. Hamilton family. Thank you.
Hamilton vote.
Senator Hamilton to be recorded in a negative. Secretary will announce the results.
In relation to calendar 615, those recorded in the negative are Senators Breslin, DeLon, Espaillat, Hamilton, Hassel-Thompson, Hoylman, Kruger, Montgomery, Parker, Peralta, Perkins, Persaud, Rivera, Serrano, Squadron, and Stewart Cousins. Ayes 42, nays 16.
The bill is passed. Senator DeFrancisco, that completes the reading of the controversial calendar.
Is there any further business at the desk?
There is no further business at the desk. Can I have some order in the House, please? I think you'll be interested in Senator DeFrancisco's announcement.
Everybody will want to hear this. I move to adjourn until Wednesday, May 11th at 10. That is 10 a.m.
On motion, the Senate will stand adjourned until Wednesday. On Wednesday, May 11th at 10 a.m. The Senate will stand adjourned until Wednesday, May 11th at 10 a.m. Senate is adjourned.